Isagi Yoichi, and this is the start of his journey. Isagi is just somebody who loves football, and he just wants to have the best time as a striker, wants to be the best striker you've ever seen. But here's the thing about Isagi. He was born to a family that is far different than anyone else's. Not just because, everybody's family is different. It's because this family was the last line of people who actually held powers that involve the mind. Now, the powers that we are talking about have a lot to do with telekinesis, and when he was young, he believed that this was his way of becoming the greatest football player to ever exist. But his parents, his family, would always tell him that under no circumstances can he use his powers. He cannot use his telekinesis, because if he does, people will come for him. People may even hurt him, and well, let's just say they won't think twice about doing anything to him, because they want his powers for their own good, for their own wants, for their own needs, and whatever you could possibly think of. And Isagi hears this, and he holds this close to his chest for a long time as he grows up, all the way up until he's basically this football player who's on his way to nationals. But Isagi would train way harder than you could possibly imagine, because he knows he can't use his telekinesis powers. But as he goes into his match that would actually lead him into his nationals game, or possible nationals game, his team would be trailing 1-0. And the striker, obviously Isagi Yoichi, would be thinking about everything that he's learned so far, about everything he's learned as a striker, everything he's learned about just developing his game and evolving his game to a large extent. Well, this would lead him to actually having a sequence with his team. His team being down 1 point, they're about to actually score a goal. But this is a choice that would change his life forever. Could he stop and think? No, he had to truly make this decision on the fly. Should he score the goal, or should he pass the ball to the more open person and have him score the goal? Well, Isagi would think about the words of his own coach. The words that his coach would speak would be that team ball is everything, that this is a team sport and this is a team game. So Isagi, well, he would pass the ball, passing the ball perfectly and beautifully, and well, his teammate would clatter the ball off the side of the goal. And as he sees this, his mind would go into a frenzy. He would think to himself, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I just did that. I passed the ball to him just for him to miss. But somebody is already taking advantage of this and going to capitalize off the mistake. And that is Ryosuke Kira, immediately capitalizing off the mistake, and Isagi tries to chase him down. He can feel himself being even more angry, thinking that he should use his powers, thinking that he's going to actually use his telekinesis here to somehow make him miss. He tries to get close to Kira, but can't make up the distance because of how quick the counter attack really was. And as he considers and debates with himself in his mind about making Kira miss, the ball would sail toward the goal, and he would just inch it closer and closer to basically the edge of the goalpost. But as he's doing this, he realizes he can't. He stops as it barely squeaks in, scoring a goal, putting the other team up 2-0, essentially ending the game as he knows it. He would end the game and be standing there as the celebrations would occur, as the other team would cheer, and as his team would be crying and completely enveloped in tears. He would be frustrated. Absolutely frustrated, arms behind his back, thinking to himself, what did he just do? He let the game slip away. He let this happen, and he could have been that person to stop it all, only if he could use his powers. And he thinks to himself, there has to be another way to approach this. His powers are part of him. His powers can allow him to be the greatest striker people have ever seen. But still, he sits here, stands here, and does nothing with them. He does nothing with the skills he's made, and he listens to a coach that makes him feel like there's no point in putting confidence and just flat out, well, ego in a way into your game of soccer or game of football. And Isagi, well, he's frustrated by this. He feels that the confidence could have been installed or bestowed within him, and he would have taken that shot. He would have made that shot, and he would have won them the game. He would have been able to get a defensive stop. He would have been able to make another score another goal. He would have been able to do something. But now he's watching from the background. Now he's watching everything pass on by. But what he doesn't know is that this loss will throw him into something that he never would possibly even imagine. Something that would awaken something within Isagi Yoichi that would make him an even greater striker than before, and give him a way to truly utilize the powers he's been hiding for so damn long. And it all starts with a simple letter. A simple letter from something known as Blue Lock, directed by Coach Jinpachi Ego, and it's a survival boot camp that is basically able to develop the ultimate striker for Japan's national football team. And that's where he goes. All he can think about is doing this. This is what he wants. This is what he's going to get. And when he arrives, he sees everybody there. A ton of people. Strikers he recognizes, strikers he doesn't recognize, and another person he obviously would recognize in Kira. And he realizes that this is so much different than he could possibly imagine. All of them would walk through those doors after Ego would explain everything that has to do with Blue Lock. What they're doing, what they're creating, and what they're making, and that is the greatest striker. And before you know it, Isagi would be walking through those doors, walking and getting ready, getting dressed, and walking into his building, Building Z, and he would be ready. But here's the thing. There's 12 people in that room, and one person needs to go. And the first trial is a game of tag. Some funny game that maybe him and many other friends would have played in the past. Hit each other with the ball, they say. It'll be fun, they say. This is not about fun. This is about absolute domination. This is about proving who's the best, and this is no game. And the first trial would begin, and the ball starts with the lowest ranked striker, Iragashi. And as Iragashi actually has the ball, or is it, eventually Isagi ends up getting tagged. But during this sequence, he tries to eliminate people, tries to tag people, but he can't seem to get it done. He can't seem to until he meets someone else. Meets someone that allows him to awaken something that he didn't know existed. He doesn't know if it's confidence, he doesn't know if it's arrogance, and he doesn't know if it's his ego shining through, but he knows something. This has awakened his love for football once again, because now this makes him excited. He goes back and forth by someone by the name of Bachira, and Bachira seems to be insane, kind of talking to himself, but also talking about some sort of monster, someone to play with, but also someone to enjoy football with once again. They go back and forth, tagging each other, Isagi smiling greatly, and Bachira can feel that the passes and the kicks from Isagi getting stronger and stronger. And eventually, Bachira would look toward one person more specifically, that of Kira. He looks at Kira and goes charging forward, trying to strike at Kira, but misses. Bachira recovers the ball and sees Isagi, and Bachira would launch the ball up for the striker, for Isagi Yoichi, and he looks at Isagi, wondering, will he accept this offering? Will he accept this gift? Will he? Well, there is no hesitation. Isagi would kick the ball so hard that many would think that this was impossible. How would he be able to do something like this? And when he kicks it, he hits Kira square in the jaw so much that it shatters half of Kira's jaw. Yes, hits him that hard, in which everyone is shocked, but Bachira, he's smiling, laughing, and in complete shock, saying that he can't believe the guy can kick that hard. I mean, seriously, that packs some damn punch. I mean, really? Are you kidding? Imagine if you hit me with that. He's like, I would have been on the floor for days. In which he begins to just smile and laugh about this, but Isagi himself seems to have no regrets at all. Not angry, not upset, nothing. He doesn't care about Kira, and frankly, all of that pent-up annoyance and anger that he's had throughout this time, especially with not being able to use his powers, have been solely directed at Kira, and it would just piss him off. In which this would lead Isagi down the pathway of realizing that he can hide his telekinesis within his striking game, within being the player he wants to be. But here's the thing. When they all get that chance, when they're all seeing that Kira is eliminated, when the clock hits 0 and it's now time, well, let's just say that Ego once again speaks to them, talks to them, and explains that Kira has this lack of ego to him, and it made him unfit to be the ultimate striker, something that Blue Lock wants. And now that there's 11 players remaining, they will form Team Z, live together, work together, train together, and, well, together they will then basically push on forward. And on top of that, if they push on forward leading to betrayals, well, so be it. And he basically tells them all that it is now preparation for games against other people. So they begin training, and Isagi begins practicing with other teammates and stuff like that. But more specifically, Meguru Bachira. And Bachira explains that he does have this monster inside of him. A monster that basically tells him the best course of action. And, well, Isagi would tell him that if he wants to enjoy this sport, he wants to enjoy football, that he should let loose whatever is helping him, whatever is guiding him. Enjoy it, thrive in it, because he's no longer holding back. He's no longer going to be the striker he once was. He's a new one. This is his rebirth, in which Bachira thinks that this is beautiful, that he has been reborn into a monster. And after this conversation is held, Ego would eventually explain everything that is situated, and also their matchups and stuff like that. But basically telling them that they are assigned based on player rank, and that Team Z is actually the lowest of all the players. And then explains the next trial and says that Team Z will have a match to prepare for against Team X. And this right here would be Isagi's chance to really look at the competition and really look at what's to come. Because before this match would even start, Ego would explain that there's a lot of things to deal with. That there's 2 winning teams. Basically, we have Team Z, we have Team X, we have Team Y, and we have Team W. But here's the thing you got to keep in mind, that the top scorers will go on no matter what. But there's only 2 winning teams in general, and that's it. The rest will sink down into oblivion, and the rest will sink down into mediocrity and never be a striker again. But this is Isagi's chance. The match would begin with mostly fighting amongst teammates and blah blah blah, but this is when things would shift, because the chaos would create an opening, and it would lead to Team X's Shohei Bado into scoring the first goal. And this would shock Isagi. Isagi would be at a loss for words. I mean, he was a monster, a freak of nature, maybe even a king of the field. He doesn't know what to look at him for, but he thinks to himself, he can't allow Bado to continue to absolutely torch them, but that's what he does. Continuously torching them, goal after goal, getting up to the point where it's 3-0. 3-0. And this would immediately strike into Isagi's head that something needs to be done. He would immediately tell everybody to shut their mouths and chill out. That they got to figure out what they got to do to stop this guy, or they're really going to get put on their back foot. Stop absolutely kind of hurting each other by doing stupid things. He tells them that as long as they can get along, as long as they can figure out who's going to be scoring, who's setting up who to score, he will lock down Bato. He will put the clamps on him. In which Bato hears this and thinks, this guy's insane. He just scored 3 back-to-back goals, and he thinks he's going to stop me? He's going to stop me? Of course, Bato is thinking like an absolute egoist, but Isagi tells them with a straight face that he will shut down Bato as long as they score goals. In which Kunigami, which Raichi, which Bachara, and many others begin to kind of listen in and think, you know what? If he goes full on defense and he doesn't let Bato score, then they'll all get along. Which Isagi says, fine. If it comes to that and has to come to that, then so be it. And this would eventually set into motion their next plan of attack. They would try their best to actually attack, but as promised, they don't actually, they fight amongst each other still until they actually get back on defense. So when Bato basically steals it once again, Isagi would go into absolute defensive mode, absolutely shutting down Bato as he tries to push up the field and push the tempo. Isagi would mock Bato. He would tell him that he's seen what he can do, but he needs to get within a certain distance of the goal, and he knows that. But also, as he pressures Bato begins to feel weaker in a way, but it's as if things are heavier. And Isagi would look at Bato and ask him, does the presence of him standing in front of him make him feel heavier, feel slower, feel weaker, not like himself, a weakling that is crumbling under the pressure? Isagi would tell him over and over again and say that he's tired of listening to coaches, players telling him that it's some team game. No, this is one-on-one. This is one-on-one, Bato. And he begins to tell him that he's no longer going to be the ruler of this field because there is another person in town now. Everybody is shocked to see this. Bato cannot get to his spots, and eventually it would be stolen from Isagi, or Isagi would steal the ball from Bato, as he would immediately put on the tempo as he sees Raichi and Kunigami both in place to actually score a goal. But Isagi would pass the ball to Kunigami as he would score from a decent way out with some insane power. A power shot that Isagi is pretty damn shocked at seeing. And yes, this did take a while to really invoke, but there's time still. There is plenty of time. And with Bato's ego continuously overflowing and overwhelming, well, mistakes are bound to happen, and steal after steal would occur. Isagi would clamp him up beyond belief, and he would continue talking all of the smack you could possibly imagine, stealing the ball from him and making Bato feel heavier and heavier. But then the passes he would make would be light as a feather, launching the ball into perfect spots on the field that seemed to be in a way controlled, as if the ball would only move the perfect way that Isagi would want it to move. Isagi would set up goal after goal, leading them to actually being tied 3-3 with only 5 minutes left of the game. And of course, Bato would still be barreling forward like an absolute just juggernaut, trying to get past the absolute just domination of defense from Isagi. But Isagi continues to tell him that all he has is that little one trick. Nobody else to play off of, nobody else to trust, nobody else to work with. A bunch of absolute side characters, NPCs. That's what they are. Him, he is the main character, but even the main character has to deal with his main antagonist, and that is what Isagi is on this field. Isagi would clamp him up one more time, stealing the ball. And as he steals it, he would get through one player and then another. And it seems like his movements are just beautiful. His movements are completely controlled. And eventually with one pass to Bachira would just juke and dodge and absolutely out-dribble every single person that's in front of him, just getting through the entirety of the rest of the defense, splitting them up, and leading to him scoring a goal for himself, putting them up 4-3 with no time left, no time to respond, and Bato stands there in complete and utter shock on how this happened. What just happened? He was dominating. Everything was going his way. Everything was happening how it should have. But Isagi tells everybody that if they want to win, they want to push on to whatever's to come, then let him lead. Follow him to the destination they want to get to. Follow him to the top and don't allow each other to sink. Not yet. Not just yet. Because they have so much more to do, so much more to understand, and so much more to deal with. And this would lead them to eventually strategizing and eventually talking about unique weapons and stuff like that. And they would question Isagi fully. How was he able to do that? They've never seen a striker with the defensive capabilities that he has. And Isagi tells them that he's always been good at that. He's always been good at quite a bit of things, but he's always thought of things as a team game. That everything was team. But when you make things simple, when you make things a one-on-one, when you completely erase somebody from the field and they are an important part of that quote-unquote team, well, you'll realize that this is not a team game. This is a game made of people who are better than other people. And he tells them that as long as he erases the best player on the field, he trusts that everyone else fall in line and everyone else can truly make a difference. He asked them, what do you think? You think if we make it a 10v10, if I erase the greatest player on their team, the best player, the one that's carrying them all the way, that you guys aren't good enough to make a play on your own? That I have to hold your hand through it as well? In which immediately they tell him to shut his mouth, to never say some stupid stuff like that ever again. But Bachira is loving it. He's loving the fire that Isagi is bringing, the monster that he's showing. And frankly, he is showing so much right now. And he continues to show what he can do going into the very next game. Team Z versus Team Y. Well, this is a beautiful and amazing game for Isagi. Because, well, all they got to do is identify who and what they have to deal with. And that leads them to actually identifying what they're trying to do. The two people that they're trying to basically kind of have a solo strategy with, and that is Nico and Okawa. Quickly, Isagi can already tell and see this. And as Nico goes to basically pass to Okawa for an easy goal, and what seems to be an easy goal, well, out of nowhere, here he comes. The eraser of truly Team Z, or really truly going to be the eraser of Blue Lock, would be right on his hip. He would steal the ball from Okawa, as Okawa can't even keep up, as Isagi starts putting on the pace, setting up Bachira for his own pass, then leading Bachira to make a beautiful pass for Kunigami, who scores outside of the penalty area, or like within the penalty area for the most part. And this would be just insane. Everybody's standing there in complete awe. Everyone's standing there in complete and utter and just questioning what the hell just happened. I mean, seriously, it was so quick. And how did he read it so fast? In which Isagi looks toward Nico and he realizes that, yes, him clamping Okawa, that is just, that matters. And that, of course, that is quote unquote the player they're going to be playing through, but that's not their best player. He tells them when they group back up that their best player is Nico. He doesn't know it yet, but it's obvious that he sees the field better than Okawa does, and all he's doing is making the pass exactly where it needs to be. But Isagi tells them that it seems like they're going to be stuck in their ways, though, pretty damn quickly, and that is the truth of it. Because they try their strategy 1 or 2 more times, and again, Isagi makes the weight of the world feel like it's placed on the shoulders of Okawa, and he no longer can move the way he wants to, no longer can do the things he wants to. And Nico, well, this would lead him to being down 3 points, 3-0, to actually putting things into his own hands. He believes this is the only way. This is the strategy. This is the way. And what does he do? Well, he looks for his own goal. And as he does, he would even be able to set himself up better than you could possibly imagine, setting him into a perfect place that his team finds him, and he's in proper pursuit of a goal for himself. And as he shoots, a foot would come out of nowhere, a foot that would skin the ball, popping it straight up into the air. And who's there? Isagi Yoichi once again. Nico would immediately be shocked, thinking, how is this guy here again? He was just on Okawa. How does he know? Isagi would look at him and he would feel this, or Nico would feel this weight on his body like he's carrying thousands of pounds in a way. Now, it isn't to that degree, but I mean, in this situation, that's what it feels like. Like his legs are numb, like they are noodles and he can barely walk, but he pushes through it. And as this weight would slowly lift off of him as he tries to recoup the ball, Isagi would go up and get it himself, jumping pretty damn high, clearing the ball. And he would tell Nico that as long as he's here, as long as he's around, he will be erased. And everybody on the team, or of Team Z, would be in a complete and utter frenzy, scoring goal after goal. And of course, this would lead them to a 5-0 victory. But here's the thing. They score quite a few goals, but they know how much Isagi means to this team right now. Isagi's on a totally different level, it seems, but he doesn't play like a striker, at least not to the degree some of the other strikers do. But Isagi tells them that all of them have to adapt, but he's using his striker mentality to cut off anything that is to come. He knows how a lot of these strikers think. He knows how a lot of them truly think, and he uses that knowledge to get himself into place, but also allows basically his defensive capabilities to shut them down. So Isagi, he isn't necessarily looking forward in some sort of meta vision. No. He's not looking that far forward, but he does know somewhat how most of these strikers think in a basic term. And as long as he can get within a certain range of them, it doesn't matter. The shutdown will come. And as long as he knows who the best player is, keying in on that one player, making himself quick enough to catch up, all of these things would allow him to eventually shut down some of these absolute units of some strikers that are no joke. And keep that in mind, they're absolutely no joke. And this does lead him to getting some of his own goals. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to just have no goals here. He'll get 1, maybe 2 within the last 2 games, but he is mainly focused on absolutely shutting down the competition in terms of his defensive capabilities. But for now, this would be the end of Team Z versus Team Y, leading them to preparing for Team W. And as they're basically looking at footage, looking at anything they possibly can, this would eventually lead them into having a conversation about strategies, about actually setting people up in 3-on-3s, which actually is a pretty damn good idea. Setting them up in kind of 3-person units where 3 people kind of cycle in and out, and as long as they properly have basically this unified front for their own weapons then it should be good. But one thing doesn't change. Isagi still plays that crucial role that everything basically runs through him. It starts with his defensive play leading to what they need to do. But here's the thing. There's somebody who's really not part of the tactic, and somebody that Isagi believes should be. He looks toward Chigiri and even has a conversation with him, has a conversation about this idea that he should not be on defense, that he should be up there, up front. He can tell that he's holding back something, and he refuses, saying that he'd rather stay on defense. That doesn't matter, that all he wants to do is stay on defense and blah, blah, blah. But eventually that idea would be confronted because, let's just say, after some hours and eventually the game, Team W and Team Z would begin. And when the Wanama brothers would have the ball, and it seems that the twins begin their onslaught, Isagi would begin defending and would begin to shut basically both of them down together. And they're completely shocked. How was he able to do that? They feel like their passes are off. They're slower than usual. They feel like they can't get to their spots. And Chigiri sees this and sees that Isagi is literally holding them off by himself. Nobody is actually setting up for any goals or anything like that. So there is no actual Kuon, retaliation where he's like, yeah, I'm going to screw everyone over. No, that's not what's happening here, because they're up 2 games already. There's no point. They win this game, it solidifies themselves entirely, and they automatically are just in no matter what. So why would he do that? So he doesn't do that. And he begins shutting down this duo. The Wanama twins struggle extremely hard to actually get past Isagi, but having 2 people to deal with makes things very, very difficult, eventually leading to them actually getting past Isagi to a certain extent. But the ball that is passed is a little bit too far, but someone there is ready to get it. Someone there is ready to retrieve it. After about 10 to 15 minutes into the game, it seems like Chigiri has finally realized what he's been missing. This absolute want to get better, to get faster, and to get even greater, and becoming the greatest striker to ever live. And he would pop the ball out toward basically the sidelines and immediately would go sprinting. As he goes sprinting, the Wanama twins would feel exhausted in a way, slower, unable to recover, and Isagi would smile as he created this opening for Chigiri, hoping that he would take it. And he did. Sprinting down the side of the field, Chigiri would look inside, thinking maybe a pass. Maybe he looks and passes, then he sees someone. He sees Isagi. Isagi sprints down, trailing Chigiri, and he looks and he with his eyes telling Chigiri to pass it. He would pass it, but quickly Isagi wouldn't even go for a goal, passing the ball once again, putting a beautiful spin on it, and Chigiri goes leaping forward with his leg out, tapping it right above the goalie, scoring his first goal in blue lock. And let's just say the speedster has truly been reawakened. Isagi would have a smile on his face, and he looks toward Bachira and even says that it seems like a very, very fast monster has entered the field, in which immediately Isagi says that he'll go back to his promise. He apologizes for breaking the formation. He'll go back to defending. He looks at the Wanama twins and he smiles at them and laughs and says, time to be erased once again. They're in complete and utter shock, wondering how the hell he's doing it, what's happening, and let's just say Jinpachi Ego is watching as well, thinking that this kid, well, he's perfect. He is the perfect person they've been waiting for. There's so many of them, so many strikers that have so much potential, but this one, it's as if he's some defensive absolute master, someone that's going to put on a defensive masterclass to set up his great striking. His striking, of course, needs some work, but his defensive capabilities make him look like a threat of a striker beyond belief. Now imagine if you improve that striking ability even more. And with the defensive capabilities, the kid would be a threat absolutely from one end of the field to the other end of the field, being a striker that nobody has seen in existence. This is truly what Blue Lock is about. And with basically Team Z and Team W going head to head, well, there's so much more to talk about, as Chigiri seems to be ready to take over this game and to show the Wanama twins why they were so beneath him in the first place, and why they were never as good as him in the first place as well. But for now, this is where we're going to end off part 1 of What If Isagi Had Telekinesis Powers, and we're going to pick up with this game, the next game, and go on to the next selection. This match is the homecoming, or the outgoing true, basically a rival of Chigiri, Hyoma Chigiri. This is the time, and Chigiri begins to show things that nobody even expected from this striker. Chigiri was basically in the back of the area, was overshadowed, wasn't shining a bright light on him. But now it's time. Now it's time to show what they're capable of, and Isagi can see it all happening in clear as day motion, and they begin to absolutely scorch. They begin to destroy Team W. Chigiri and his speed is just absurd. His speed is ridiculous, and it allows him to absolutely go nuts. And it basically is just a field day for Isagi. Isagi is defending beautifully against the duo of the Wanama twins, but also is setting up beautiful outlet passes to Chigiri and other people on the front lines, aka your Bachiras and your Kunagamis and so on and so forth. And every single goal is threaded through Chigiri. It seems like he can't be stopped at all. And within the 90 minutes of play, he scores 4 freaking goals. And everybody is at a complete loss for words, because the Wanama twins had no answers. And let's just say Twan is really happy he didn't try to sabotage this game by trying to shoot his own goals and get this and get that, because this was a freaking masterclass. And it all really was threaded through Isagi Yoichi, but the stats truly say otherwise. The stats say very limited things. Isagi may be locking down the best players on their team and also setting up some amazing goals, but there's a lot of times that he's setting up the setup of the goal, aka he's making the pass that would eventually make another pass into a goal. So he wouldn't get the assist necessarily, but there is somebody watching, obviously, that is recognizing Isagi for what he is. But there's only so much he can put into stake of what Isagi can do, so he is kind of downgrading what Isagi truly is. He's even questioning if Isagi is a true striker with a true ego, and that is Jinpachi ego, thinking to himself that maybe Isagi's just not cut out to be the striker that everyone thinks he should be. I mean, he's playing the more defender-like role. He's more of a facilitator. Maybe he's more of a mid-like fielder. But still, he's doing some good stuff. But come on, I mean, seriously, does everybody really think that he's up to par? But let's be honest, Team Z, well, they know he's up to par. They know the level that Isagi truly is on, and they think and know that he is no freaking joke. Isagi is no joke by any means, and is putting on an absolute masterclass. And when Team W was finished getting the absolute whooping they deserved from talking all that smack to Chigiri, not only today, but also a while back, well, let's just say we entered a phase where it doesn't really matter. The next game would be against a team that is also undefeated, but it's not a game that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. This game would just be for kind of glory and for bragging rights, because this game against Team V, wouldn't actually be considered an important one. They're both 3-0. They're both in very high regards of Jinpachi Ego. And on top of that, well, there's not much to really go on at this point, in which Jinpachi Ego believes that, well, you know what? If they're going to take this so lightly, what about we, let's just say, amp up the odds? So he tells them that whoever wins this match, every single person that basically wins or who's on the winning team will actually get a ton of more points to spend for food, spend for to go outside, spend to basically do anything they want to do. Like get a multiplied amount of points so that they can do what they want. AKA everything is still instated, like, you know, your amount of goals and stuff like that, based on points and certain things you can get, of course, during this time. But if they win this game, whoever wins it, every single person will get a pretty good amount of points so that they can enjoy those points, just to give a little bit more stake here. And he reminds them that their ultimate goal is to be the greatest strikers in the world, or the greatest striker in the world. So they should take this with a true like first step forward, and take this this battle between them, the two titans of what Blue Lock is, take it very seriously. And that's what they do, at least to a large extent. I'm gonna be honest, some people in that team, in Team V, they don't really care that much about the extra points. They don't really care about this or that. But Isagi himself, he wants to see what his team is capable of. He doesn't necessarily even think about this idea of, oh, Team V is gonna, you know, either beat us or not beat us, or Team V is not gonna take it seriously. He's not even thinking about any of that. All he's thinking about is getting better, getting faster, getting stronger, using his powers, but also utilizing his IQ and everything he possibly can do. So that's all the stuff he's thinking about. And this match would eventually begin. This match would be a beautiful one to watch if there was something really major on the line. But for the first like half or so of the match, nobody really does anything. A lot of people, it's kind of very simple. Isagi tries to key in on basically who the important people are, being that of the trio of Zantetsu, Ryo, and Nagi, but he can't stop all of them. But he doesn't know who really is the best of all of them until he starts seeing Nagi, until he starts seeing one pass from Ryo and it lands perfectly in the basket of Nagi. He begins to try and cut off Nagi, basically deny him of the goal as much as possible. But as he denies him of this goal, as he can tell that there is something there, like he can stop him, well, he realizes something. That Nagi is looking to score from the angle he's trying to score at. This is ridiculous. There's no way he could score from this angle. How is he going to get into position to do so? But this is when they see, or he sees, Nagi's insane ball control. A ball control that he's never even thought about before. He completely stops the ball as if it's just not, there's no gravity, no nothing at all. No spin or anything. Just stops it in its tracks. And boom, turning and spinning and kicking right through the goal, putting them up 1-0. This would shock Isagi, but Isagi would now have a smile growing on his face. And Ego would now understand what excites Isagi Yoichi. What excites Isagi Yoichi truly is erasing the best strikers off the face of the earth. But it makes him pause. Is he really a striker then? He sounds more like a defender. He sounds like someone who, you know, would be important to a team, don't get me wrong, but he sounds more like a defender. But here's the thing. Isagi still has that want to score a goal. That need to score a goal. And when he begins to shut down Nagi and Ryo would make a very, very unwanted pass, he would be absolutely looking up the field for an outlet, for a counterattack. But as he's looking up the field, he realizes, nah, I don't think I want to allow this counterattack to go just through the hands of these other people, through these other strikers. I think it's my turn to have fun. He dashes forward, going through defender, or basically just defender slash midfielder, anybody you could possibly think of, going through, cutting through the defense. And as he cuts through and as he's going to their side of the field, Now it seems that Zantetsu would try to cut him off. Zantetsu, with his speed, would try to stop him, but as Isagi sees this, he would make Zantetsu actually commit harder than normal to a certain direction. In doing so, putting him in a horrible position to actually stop Isagi. Isagi continuing forward, and Isagi would eventually get to the spot where he needs to be. Isagi would be in the perfect position, the perfect scenario, and there it is. He sees the goal. He's very close, and everybody thinks that they need to stop him. Nagi calls out to Reo to stop the ball, and as he goes to try and do that, Zantetsu is there as well. As they basically run toward the ball, as they run toward the football in general, it seems that it's just then stopped. Immediately stopped. Isagi would be basically just halting their momentum, but also using their momentum in a way that they didn't expect it to happen, and just they slam against each other as Isagi would pass right on by, scoring a goal. But keep in mind, his goals, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of them, at least not in comparison to literally everybody else on his team. Almost every single person on his team have multiple goals. Chigiri had one game with 4 freaking goals. Kunigami has many goals himself, and so on and so forth. Same thing with someone like Bachira. So they are pretty damn impressive as a collective. But in terms of statistics, Isagi is on the back foot. Isagi really doesn't have a ton of stats. But that's fine for Isagi. He doesn't really mind. And now with everything kind of setting the tone, he is now completely and utterly clamping up every single thing that they want to do. Mostly going through Nagi. Nagi is their mainstay. Nagi is the person that is going to be threaded these goals and be threaded every opportunity. Reo, yeah, he's pretty important, and the speed of Zantetsu is an issue. But with Chigiri on his high horse, Chigiri absolutely with a new breed of confidence, let's just say there's nothing to worry about with Zantetsu, and Isagi continues to set up goal after goal for people like Bachira, for people like Kunigami, for people like Raichi, and so on and so forth, continuously getting these people goals. And that's what's important, getting the people goals. And he continues to do that. And let's just say Jinpachi Ego's watching as Team V would eventually fall by a whopping score of 3-1. It's insane to even think about, insane to even process, but a team that was legitimately at the top of their game, legitimately was 3-0, was made to look like a joke in the face of what's supposed to be the worst team in Blue Lock. But don't worry, eventually they'll learn that that's actually a bunch of bull malarkey, because that's a bunch of BS, and it's actually not true. That Jinpachi actually only said that to get people to take things differently and more seriously, and believe that they had that underdog mentality. And it worked perfectly. I mean, Team Z really took that underdog mentality and used it for their own, and used it to be even greater. So it worked out pretty damn well for Team Z, excuse me. And this would lead them to actually finishing everything undefeated. And undefeated was a pretty damn crazy statement, and a pretty damn crazy thing to even think about. And let's just say, well, it seems that they will continue to show dominance, at least to an extent, and at least individually, they will definitely be able to show what they're capable of. But soon, very, very soon, actually, we have another thing coming up. And that other thing is some more training and some more prepping, because the second selection is eventually going to be upon them. But first, they need to pass a kind of goal-like test with something known as Blue Lock Man. Blue Lock Man is a pretty interesting thing to actually deal with. Blue Lock Man is a more or less robotized type of goalkeeper that is extremely good at basically stopping goals from happening. But Isagi is going to have to go out of his way to show that he can actually hang with some of the better strikers in this place, and genuinely some of the better strikers. And that's what matters. Isagi, or basically Jinpachi, wants to know if Isagi can really hang with being able to score goals. But during this kind of test with Blue Lock Man, and as they're continuously working hard and developing, well, he can do just that. He begins to actually thread some of these goals in using what he believes to be his direct shot. But this direct shot has a spin and a curve that nobody could possibly even freaking imagine. Something he hasn't even really shown off in this in any game that he's had so far. But he's excited to see what's next, because eventually he would finish up and he would arrive basically in this odd looking chamber. And as he does, he would see that, well, a couple people are actually walking through and a couple people are about to start leaving. He enters about the same time as Bachara would enter, and he would actually be thinking to himself, well, cool, like Bachara's already here, like I'll just duo up with Bachara, especially with 3v3s. Maybe we can get another person. Maybe we'll get Chigiri or maybe Kunigami, maybe someone like that. We're not sure. That's until someone walks up to him, someone that he actually did have a conversation with not too long ago. And this is Nagi. Nagi Seshiro is walking up to Isagi and asking to play football with him. And of course, he's like, hey, man, like I can't join your group. Like I have Bachara here. Like that's my boy. Like I'm not going to just leave Bachara. That's my homie. That's my dog. So Nagi's like, wow, I see. And he goes, well, can I join you guys then? And this would shock Ryo to his core, thinking Nagi's really going to leave him? Like, what is this? This is crazy. Why is he going to leave him? In which, of course, this would definitely throw a wrench in Ryo's plans to more or less try and become the greatest striker off of the coattails of Nagi himself. But still, it gives Nagi an opportunity to play with someone like Isagi. And this excites Nagi because he's seen what Isagi can do. He's seen the passes that he can make. He's seen the defense that he was able to apply upon Nagi. Nagi even wants him to make him better. He believes that playing football with Isagi will put him on a different level, will make him better than anyone could possibly imagine. And that's the reality of it. Isagi can make you that much better. But how much better can he really make his team? Especially when they're about to walk through those doors and basically see who they're going to take on, or basically challenge who they're going to take on, because they're the team that they're actually going to take on is the team that is made up from some people that they haven't seen at all. And this team would excite Isagi because these three are the three that beat him to this room. These three include some very, very good strikers. We're talking about Rin, Aru, and Tokimitsu, three of the best strikers, at least in terms of basically Blue Lock Man or defeating Blue Lock Man. And it seems like all three of them are going to be one hell of a challenge, and that is 1000% the case. But he wants the challenge, and he takes on Rin, Aru, and also Tokimitsu, and they all have their own challenges to deal with, or basically have to handle. And Isagi says that this is perfect for them. And Nagi and Bachara question why, and he says that this is a smaller field, a smaller test. These are 3-on-3s. But what we know on 3-on-3s is who's technically the best striker. Who's technically the best striker on their team? It's Rin, Itoshi Rin. And he tells them that he will key in on Itoshi Rin, and he will make Rin make mistakes. And once he makes mistakes, their team will crumble. And once their team crumbles, that is when they strike. In which, of course, Nagi likes the confidence, but I mean, this is the #1 striker in Blue Lock, it seems. So does he really believe he can just defeat him that easily? And Isagi smiles and says that the good part is, and the fun part, is that he doesn't even know. But it's still gonna be enjoyable, and he's still gonna give it one hell of an effort because he wants to drag Rin down and defeat him. And that's exactly what he's going to do. And at the very beginning of this match, at the 3-on-3, it's obvious, very obvious, what Isagi's team is doing. Isagi's team is waiting for that mistake. And Rin, he wasn't ready for it. He didn't think in his wildest dreams that there would be a striker in Blue Lock that had the defensive capabilities that someone like Isagi Yoichi would have. Because in the initial striking attack, let's just say Rin would cough it up like a absolute baby that's sick, because he would cough up the ball pretty damn quick, and Isagi would show him very, very quickly that he cannot underestimate him. Getting a quick goal to Nagi, as Nagi's able to separate himself just enough from the tall, lengthy person of Aru and basically stop the ball and score a goal, putting them up 1-0. But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because Rin is locked in. Rin immediately sets himself up for a potential goal, and Isagi is trying to stop it. Isagi is trying to actually hinder him, and it's actually working to an extent, because this team isn't working as a team. They're working as 3 individual strikers. But Isagi's team, well, they're not. They're completely working together and completely kind of not one by one, going in and trying to do this or trying to do that on their own. And they're really working with Isagi. But Rin, he's leveling up quicker than you could imagine, and he basically uses one of his teammates, using Aru as a way of passing it and also separating himself from Isagi. Yes, it's not easy. Yes, it's nothing no, it's not insane separation, but with just enough separation, he's able to get a goal off of Isagi. And Rin would tell Isagi that is the last time he'll ever stop him from scoring, and he's going to make sure that he loses and make sure that there is no way in hell that he's going to allow someone like him to try to send him back down. In which, of course, this is Rin we're talking about. Rin is dead serious. He is not kidding, but Isagi isn't kidding either. He wants this more than anything. He wants this more than you could possibly imagine. And he continues to try and basically stop Rin from doing as he wishes. Read Rin's field, and this is when Isagi starts to level up even beyond his telekinesis powers, because this is when he starts reading the field just like Rin reads the field. Maybe not to the extent he does, the level he does, but he starts reading the field and trying to basically get openings himself. And eventually this would lead them to getting a couple stops and a couple, steals here and there, but the other two, Bachira and Nagi, start getting exposed. Bachira would see that he can't keep up with someone like Tokumitsu, and they do unfortunately end up giving up some goals, but with some responses from Isagi and Bachira, it makes it so it's a 4-3 game in favor of Rin's team. But it's pretty obvious that Isagi has been relying heavily on his telekinesis powers, so much so that it feels like he just doesn't have the capacity to read the game how he should. And it seems to him that he still needs to learn more. He still needs to know more, learn more. But once he does, he'll be unstoppable. Yes, the telekinesis is allowing him to absolutely shut down Rin if he so chooses to do so. Make him slower, make him feel the weight, erase him. But dealing with these other two, he's beginning to realize that if he tries to play some help defense and he tries to help out where he can, well, Rin starts reading through the blind spots and starts reading through everything he's trying. So the next point would be Rin's, and he would finish off the team of Isagi, Bachira, and Nagi, and he would stand there. This is the first time he's lost in Blue Lock. This feeling, it's terrible. It's making him sick. Like he can throw up and just crawl up and roll up into a ball and die. But as he realizes and thinks to himself that they have to pick a striker out of the three of them, Rin would approach him. and he would tell him that he won't allow Isagi to sink down. And it pisses him off that he was even allowed and able to deny him of anything. So he tells Isagi to stay up here, climb, and stay with them. And immediately Isagi is shocked to hear this, but it's the obvious choice. Isagi would join the team of Rin, Tokumitsu, and Aru, and they would continue on to the next round. And this is when Isagi would begin training with people like Rin, and he would start basically taking his level to that next step. And frankly, Rin, he doesn't see him as a striker. So he basically will tell him like, hey, we're going to train together. We're going to work together until I know you can't stop me. But Isagi, he's not going to let him off easy. And it's a war ground until they can basically get on to the next game. And Aru and even Tokumitsu watch on, and they question if, well, Rin really doesn't see Isagi as a striker, as someone who will go and hunt for their goals and hold on to this ego mentality. And it seems like that's the truth. And Jinpachi Ego is even watching Rin and Isagi go head-to-head, one-on-one, over and over and over again. Every single time Isagi gets one up on him, Rin gets one up on him. And it seems like this is all making so much sense, that Isagi really is the perfect person to stand by Rin. But the analytics, the stats, everything, it says something completely different. But before Jinpachi Ego can even think that far ahead, it would now be time for a 4v4, and that 4v4 would be against Baro, Chigiri, Nagi, and Bachara. But this 4v4, well, let's just say the 4 that we are talking about, the 4 that is Team Z mostly orientated, about 50% of it, of course. But we have Nagi and also Baro. Let's just say that it was not a good idea to say and think that the team of Rin, Isagi, Tokumitsu, and also Aru was going to be a good matchup, because it wasn't. The speed of Chigiri would end up being a little bit of an issue, but the two-man team of Isagi and Rin just prove exactly what Jinpachi Ego was thinking. The defense, the speed, the tempo, and everything. It seems like their chemistry is off the charts, and they obliterate that team, absolutely destroy them. And frankly, they are far from humbled, beating them 5-1, only losing a goal to Baro because of some weird stealing from your teammate nonsense. And Isagi basically is effectively responsible for all 5 of those goals. He may not have scored them himself, but he was effectively responsible for every last one of them, which is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And let's just say, in terms of stats and analytics, he might not be at the very top, but he is no freaking joke. And even Jinpachi Ego knows this. And he wants to see one more thing. He wants to see all of them go against, well, the World 5. 5 of the greatest players in the world. And this was a humbling session that Rin wasn't prepared for, because Rin, he would start hot. He would score a goal pretty damn quickly, and Isagi, well, he would be able to lock down one of the World 5, but guess what? That lockdown doesn't mean that much when they start taking it seriously. But I'm going to be honest, the World 5 at the end of the day would be complimenting Isagi, thinking, hey bro, like, you're really damn good at this. And of course, they would take Bachara in this case, and Nagi and the rest of them will definitely come back up very soon. But of course, they would have the good old Bachara, being that Isagi was a big part and was able to choose between all of them. But the team of Tokumitsu, Isagi, Rin, Bachara, and also Aru would get a beating from the World 5, and it wouldn't be even close. They would get a goal, maybe a second, depending on if Isagi was able to make a defensively responsible play. But other than that, there's just no way they're going to beat the World 5. But they would get compliments. The World 5 would praise Isagi, saying that they all thought he was just a striker. But the kid, he's got some damn moves for being a defender. Being able to keep up with the World 5s, like some of the best players there, I mean, seriously, that is no slouch of a player. And, well, Rin believes that they should be on their knee, begging for forgiveness, begging for them to stop basically whooping on him. But Rin and his team, they were overestimating what they could do. But this humbling was needed. A true humbling was needed. But luckily enough, that humbling won't go that far, because they'll be headed off into the next selection, because there is a preparation that they have been waiting for, a preparation that they've been trying to get into. And as they're waiting in this area, and as they're waiting to see their friends come through those doors, they do see their friends, but there's one person missing. The superhero of football, Kunigami, has sunk down. But Isagi doesn't have time to think, doesn't have time to mourn, doesn't have time to be sad, because they have to lock in and get ready. Because the U20 game is right around the corner, and they have tryouts to come. And before you know it, Isagi realizes that he is not in the top 6 and not even an honorable mention of 7 in that group. He has no idea why, and many people struggle to even understand why too, but he's not. So he decides that even though it's frustrating, even though it's irritating and it's stupid, and he believes that he is the best player in Blue Lock, so be it. He'll add himself to a team, he'll get his one tryout, and he'll show that he can outshine even the captains, adding himself to the team of Rin, but also someone by the name of Shido Ryusei. And that is the one that sunk Kunigami back down, away and gone from Blue Lock. So he wants to see what this guy's truly about, what he can truly do, and he wants to continue showing why him and Rin are possibly the greatest duo in Blue Lock ever. And out of everybody here, he doesn't care who they are, what they are, but him and Rin are on a totally different level. And when they go to that field, when they set up for that game, well, let's just say there's a part of Rin that looks at Isagi as, well, kind of a brother. It might sound weird, it might sound odd, but that's the truth. He looks at Isagi as someone who has tested him, has made him truly work, and has truly put him in a scenario that they weren't sure, or he wasn't sure that they could really, or that he could really defeat him. But of course, Isagi and Rin have basically leveled up way more than you could imagine, and have prepared themselves way more than you could imagine. But Isagi will stand by Shido, Rin, Hiyori, and Nayase. And with those 5, they will take on another group of captains, but also added Chigiri and some other people that he hasn't even met yet. But really, the true shining aspect of this is watching if any of these people can really have some sort of chemistry or kind of equation and this chemical reaction with either Ren Itoshi or Shido himself. But you're going to have to find out what happens in the next part, possibly the final part, of what if Isagi had telekinesis powers. Isagi Yoichi has one chance, but in all honesty, everybody knows that he will be part of this U20 team, or part of the match against the U20 team. Blue Lock needs a certain amount of players, enough players to step on that pitch, step on that field, and take on what's going to happen. The Blue Lock 11. That's what needs to happen. That's what's going to happen. And in his singular match, Isagi's going to get a chance to learn, a chance to figure things out, and a chance to know so much more. Isagi would team up with Rin, Shido, Hiyori, and also Nyase. That would be them taking on a team of some of the other best players in Blue Lock. Karasu and Otoya leading the way for their team, Team B. And let's just say Isagi has a ton to do during this match, because right off the bat, it's obvious that Rin and Isagi have a duo type of play that is very, very skilled and very, very good. So much so that even the big body and also the very, very sound defensive player in Karasu can't really hold them together. He even tries to take advantage of what Isagi is trying to do, but it seems like there's something that is making him one step slower. Isagi getting out into open field very quickly and just decisively setting up Rin for a goal. And this will already be on Jinpachi Ego's radar, knowing that these two right here, I mean, he's seen it over and over again. The stats don't really tell the whole story, but when you start looking at what they're capable of, I mean, this is a freak show. It is different to have them both on the pitch, and it is different to have them both standing side by side working together. But there's someone else that he wants to see hopefully work together with these two, and that is Shido. He wants to see Shido do some things and understand some things and also help out during this time. But unfortunately, even Isagi can't necessarily kind of work together properly with Shido. Now, in terms of just flat out goals, Isagi could set him up for a nice one, but it's not really that much teamwork, you could say. The goal was kind of in a weird premature spot, and Isagi set him up well, but it's not like he has some crazy type of chemistry with someone like Shido. It's a lot more fluid and understanding with someone like Itoshi Rin, but with Shido, there's something that's lacking. Isagi would even get his own goals here and stop some of the better strikers within Team B, even being able to stop people like Chigiri, who is extremely fast, and Otoya, who is extremely good at going invisible, basically, while kind of cutting off the field and just getting lost in the sidelines. And that's what he does really well, but Isagi is on it at all times. Because there's something going on that even Jinpachi Ego kind of understands. That one thing is that Isagi is going to be their true way of stopping the team of the U20 match. Going to be their way of stopping Sai Itoshi. That is going to be their way. Rin, well, let's just say his ego is not going to want him to basically allow Isagi to lock up Sai to a large degree, or try to lock up Sai Itoshi. But it doesn't matter. Not necessarily. Because Isagi's going to be given that opportunity no matter what. And let's just say this match is semi-close. And there is some goals here and there for the other team, Team B. But in all honesty, the only thing holding this Team A back is the lack of chemistry with Shido. And Isagi continues to develop throughout this match as well with Hiyori's advice that would basically tell him to stop reacting or stop thinking first before reacting. Just react, just do. In which he starts taking that to heart, even utilizing his telekinesis powers that allows him to defensively be extremely, extremely good in a way of just reacting to movements without even thinking about them. And he gets even further in that idea when he starts working with Rin, especially setting up even more goals. This would literally put Rin at a spot where he scores 3 goals in this one singular match. Shido would get one himself, but then Isagi would also get the very last one, winning 5-3. Isagi would actually get this goal, and even Jinpachi Ego is looking at this like, wow, maybe he really can be more than just a defender. Frankly, Karasu is more of the defender-like person. Putting Isagi right next to Rin as an offensive midfielder, yes, it honestly would make more sense. It might sound odd because, frankly, Isagi's defensive prowess is insane. And if you look at the U20 team, it might even be around the same level as someone as Oliver Aiku. But at the same time, they know that his chemistry with Rin can put them at a totally different level. A level to the point where they might not be able to be stopped. And that is something to truly think about. And that right there is something for the other team to truly worry about. Something that they're really going to have to keep in mind. And there's someone that he'll be matched up on quite a bit if he plays the offensive midfielder role. And they have quite a bit of other people that they could substitute as well. Now, before the U20 match, Hiyori and also Isagi, and Nayase to a certain extent, sit there and kind of listen to and also watch some of the other matches. Nothing too crazy happens. The same kind of Blue Lock 11 would be chosen for their match. Some setting up in different roles better than others, and some preparing in a different way. But they do have a semi-large amount of substitutes to actually play through as well. But they're only allowed to substitute 3 people, so they'll have to be pretty stingy with that idea. But one game, that's all it's going to take. One game for the rest of Blue Lock 11's life. One game for the Blue Lock's future. The U20 match, Japan's under-20 team national representative match for all of Japan to watch. And there's one person that everybody is excited to see, and the only reason that tickets were sold in the damn first place. Saitoshi leading the team, but there's one person, one stipulation, and one thing that Saitoshi wanted, and that was Shido. He told them that he would not actually partake in this match unless Shido was allowed to join the U20 team, and Isagi now knows he has another person to erase. But it all starts with the one and only Saitoshi. They're all walking out onto the field, all within kind of a hallway, and they stand next to each other. Isagi would look to his left, and he would see somebody, and he would see Oliver Aiku. Oliver Aiku, their left center back. He would look at Isagi and think to himself that right there, there's something within his eyes. And Isagi would ask him, well, if he has something to say, why not just say it? It'd make it easier for everyone. Oliver Aiku would respond, and he would say that it seems like the kid has a bit of an ego to him. Maybe a little bit of overconfidence, in fact. He wonders, where's he playing? Is he, where he plays? Is he left center back? Is he a more defensive midfielder? What is it? In which Isagi says that he's an offensive midfielder, and that he should really be worrying about his own position because he'll show him what he could really do. Oliver would look into Isagi's eyes, and he would think to himself, those eyes tell a different story. The eyes of a defender. The eyes of someone who gets really, really excited about erasing somebody off the field. He wonders, maybe this guy is, an issue. Maybe this U20 match, this U20 versus Blue Lock 11, maybe it should be taken even more seriously. He stops and thinks about this, but then shakes his head. He tells the kid, good luck, and they enter the stadium, the crowd roaring, and the Blue Lock 11 would take the field facing off with the U20 team. And the main threat, everybody knows it, everybody realizes it, Saitoshi is going to be a problem, and he always will be. But this is until Isagi and Rin, they start the match. And Rin would question if he's scared, if he's nervous, if he's worried. And Isagi says that he's not worried, he's not nervous, and he's not fearful. And frankly, all he wants to do is erase his big brother. In which immediately Rin would smirk a little bit and say that he'll have that opportunity, but he wants his brother first, and that's how it's going to be. Isagi would shrug his shoulders and say it is what it is. Let's just get to work. In which that's exactly what these two do. And initially, it would be a bit of a struggle to break through the defense. I mean, seriously, some of these people, I mean, their defensive capabilities, their way of kind of shutting down some of these other people on Isagi or on the Blue Lock 11 team, well, it's pretty interesting. Your left wings and your right wing and basically all these people that are going to be very good in that open field and that those one-on-one matchups are struggling. And Isagi realizes that this quickly will turn into a two-man game. But this two-man game will not be easy when you are dealing with Saitoshi standing in front of you, with their defensive midfielders being extremely quick to the ball, but on top of that, Oliver Aiku ready to strike at any moment's notice. But Isagi knows that they can get the upper hand. They've been working harder than you could possibly imagine, and their two-man game is borderline unstoppable. And when it starts, let's just say the U20 team wouldn't be taking them fully seriously, but after this two-man game is shown, well, very quickly they'll realize that this should have been taken seriously, because they begin busting their way through the entire defense and just absolutely scorching everybody in their way. Both defensive midfielders for the U20 team get taken back by how quick and the tempo they're put up against, and they're gone without a trace. But Rin would try to set up a pass for Isagi, one that would fall into the lap of Oliver Aiku with perfect positioning, but guess what? That would not be happening. Isagi meets him up top and makes him feel extremely heavy, making him feel as if there's this weight on his shoulders that he cannot or can no longer hold up, completely stopping this defensive serpent that is Oliver Aiku, taking the ball himself and busting through the defense completely. Now they have a 2-on-1 basically with the goalkeeper, with the others trying to get back and basically help out. And they're trying to collapse and stop them from scoring, but with one fake, one move, it looks like Isagi's going for a goal, kicking the ball, and it looks like it's screaming toward the left top corner of the goal, but it's not. It's curving, and it's a pass to Itoshi Rin as he scores the first goal against the U20 team. Everybody's in shock. Everybody is in complete and utter shock, and well, it's pretty obvious that the U20 team needs to straighten up, because they're going to be on the back foot extremely bad if they don't figure it the hell out. In which this would lead to Isagi starting right next to Itoshi Rin once again, but on the defensive side of the ball this time, because Rin is obsessed with the idea of shutting down Saitoshi. So Isagi decides to put a little bit more on his own shoulders, taking on the so-called superstar of Sendo. And Shoto Sendo, well, let's just say the superstar isn't looking too super, because quickly, even when Sai would set up the most beautiful pass, well, he would not be able to get up high enough to stop Isagi from stealing it. Quickly, with retaliation, Isagi would be looking for Rin once again, passing the ball up and sprinting into the open field, trying to get him and Rin another goal once again. But as they actually are setting it up, it seems that Oliver Aiku and many others are ready for it this time around, stopping them from doing the same sequence, more or less, what they just did. Oliver Aiku telling the kid that he's not going to be able to go and score a goal that easily once again, but this would suck in the entirety of the defense. It would basically leave someone open and stop somebody, at least to an extent, because they would think he's open, passing the ball to Nagi, but it seems like the right center back, Kazuma Nyoa, is actually in perfect position to stop Nagi, and he's extremely strong, completely cutting Nagi off. But with his insane ball control, Nagi would be able to actually capture the ball and look for a pass. But this is when he realizes that he can score a goal right here. landing some of the craziest moves you could possibly see, as he would tap the ball up with other defenders actually coming in to stop him, and he would spin kicking the ball and he would score a goal himself. The U20 team is on the back foot and in complete and utter shock. How the hell is this happening? Blue Lock 11 is up 2-0 in a matter of a 15-minute time period. They don't know how this is happening and what is happening, but they are crumbling. But luckily, Saitoshi, well, he believes, or at least to an extent, that they're in this game, at least for now, because he starts putting on a clinic. Rin cannot hang on to his big brother, and Saitoshi would set up Sendo, at least momentarily, for a pass back to Saitoshi, he would easily push through the defenders and get himself a goal that nobody would be expecting. A goal that looked to be a simple pass in, a cross to try and basically try his best to set up his superstar once again. But this time he says that he will do it himself, scoring a goal from basically 0 degrees of right next to the goal, and it's a beautiful thing. Scoring the goal, putting them down 2-1, but setting the crowd into a frenzy. It seems like, yes, they are behind Blue Lock and they are behind this spectacular feat, but Saitoshi is still the superstar that is put on that pedestal, and Saitoshi is still the #1 person everyone is looking at. But the thing is, it seems like everything will stop right here, because immediately after, Rin would have a new want, a new goal, and a new just want to try and find another goal, find a goal for himself. And that's exactly what the plan is. Letting Bachira run wild within the entirety of the defense of the U20 team, setting him basically this unorthodox type of person ablaze, and he begins to cut through the defense. And while this is happening, well, you have Rin and Isagi with their 2-man game once again, but this is different. Isagi is covering everything. It seems like the better defenders are being shadowed by Isagi, as if they're being taken out of the play. And it's like a red carpet for Itoshi Rin, a red carpet that is showing him the way. And as he finds his way, he would try and score the same goal that Saitoshi scored before, but it would be stopped. He would miss, and it would be popped out into the air, and everybody would be scrambling. Oliver Aiku would go and recover the ball, going to actually clear it, trying to set up something for Saitoshi and their runners. But Isagi was there once again, catching or actually kicking the ball back up as it's trying to be passed to Saitoshi. It pops straight up in the air, and this is where many of them are scrambling, trying to recover. And Isagi is looking for his chance as well, trying to recover the ball that was popped up. And as he's going up to actually get it, he senses something. He feels something and realizes something, that someone has snuck in and the ninja has arrived. Otoya is behind everybody and nobody even realizes it. The chaos that ensued because of the striking team of Blue Lock 11 is basically showing its face now. Isagi, without even looking, would smack the ball with the back of his heel, sending it beautifully to Otoya as it sets up a goal for the ninja that snuck within the shadows, and nobody was even ready for it. The U20 team is in shambles, completely and utterly freaking out at the fact that this is crazy. This is ridiculous. How are they thriving in this chaos? But Saitoshi, well, he's ready for another counterattack. And he's ready with very little time left before the halfway time or halfway point to try and strike his way to another goal. But this time, Rin isn't the one covering him, isn't the one picking him up from one side to the other. This time, it's Isagi Yoichi. And this would allow Sai, to realize why this match has been the way it is. This is the reason why. He is the reason why. Sai realizes that Isagi, the pressure he can apply and the absolute pressure and heavy and kind of weight he applies to his opponents is the reason why so many people on his team are falling short. But how can a striker, this striker, defend the way he's defending? How is this possible? Surely there is other answers. Surely there are other things to be told. But no, this is it. Sai can feel the pressure. Sai can feel the weight. And every last little bit of training that he did with Rin is helping him for this moment. He knows how Sai plays, at least to an extent. And he is applying the pressure. So much so that the ball would end up being popped up and unable to actually be recovered. And the extra time the time would basically peter out and it would be over. At least till halftime. Halftime would be ensued and they are up 3-1. But they have not seen one person just yet. Ryosei Shido has not entered the field, has not quite gotten his chance to shine. And well, that's exactly what Ego brings up at halftime, saying that he will be coming. He will be going to actually end the life of Blue Lock, destroy whatever is left. And that is the reality of it. The reality is Shido is no longer on their team, no longer on their side, and they're going to use him to stop us. So he tells Rin that he needs to step up and he needs to take on his brother head on. He needs to really thrive off of the defensive aura that Isagi is giving off and be ready for everything and be ready for anything. And he tells Isagi that this is his chance. His chance to show Shido that way of soccer or football is not going to work. Complete erasure. In which Isagi would smirk extremely wide and say that he'll do what he can and he'll completely lock him down. In which obviously the halftime would end and it would start once again, and they would have Shido now on the team. Shido would now be part of their insane offensive capabilities, and you would eventually see this as Shido would try his best to get into place, and Saitoshi would find him. Saitoshi would find a perfectly placed Shido with his back to the goal, ready to strike, in which Isagi would be on Shido, trying to stop him, but he hasn't seen Shido do this truly, not when he's standing right in front of him, and Shido would find his way to that goal, and Isagi would try and stop him, but Isagi would be one singular centimeter off. His toe, his foot, able to touch the ball. No, not quite. Not just yet. And, well, Shido would have the goal soar. It's soaring toward it. But Gagamaru, he would save it, popping the ball back out, and Isagi would go to recover it, recovering it and passing it out and starting their counterattack once again. And Jinpachi Ego, well, his smile would grow even wider, realizing that this right here is the future of everything. The future of Blue Lock and football entirely. But there's one person still trying to stop this. One person who was threatening to leave at halftime, but the little devil that is Shido was going to keep him here one last time. Saitoshi would be able to steal that outlet pass from Isagi, which was setting up their counterattack, and with one more pass, one more chance, he would send it to the devil, and he would send it to Shido. Shido would gather it and would score a goal on Gagamaru, not making the same mistake again, putting them down only 3-2, and it seems like the U20's momentum is starting to stir. But that momentum would be shut down pretty damn quickly, especially when they started having substitutes. And they would sub in Ryo Mikage, Yohiori, and on top of that, would even sub in someone that Isagi hasn't seen for a while. Someone that has been absolutely salivating at the fact of devouring Isagi's light, which is completely out of the ordinary for Isagi, because he's never really worked with someone like him. Shohei Bado. This is their chance to give a different look to the U20 team, to stop their momentum, and that's exactly what happens. Isagi is given the option to now shut down Saitoshi once again. Ryo would now have the goal and also the full-on responsibility to shut off Shido, and this right here is perfect time for the king to feast, because Shohei Bado, well, he would be looking for a goal himself. The defensive responsibilities, it would show quickly, and they would be able to have a little bit of a back and forth, leading to a defensive stop for the Blue Lock 11, leading to them going out to score a goal. The two-man team once again between Rin and Isagi would be showing off, and this would lead to Isagi being in the perfect place for a goal. But Bado, he would come out of nowhere, stealing the ball from Isagi, looking for the goal himself. Isagi would smirk, and he would realize why ego has put him in this place, in this role. Isagi wouldn't hesitate, wouldn't stand still, and would not be lackluster, because he would sprint off to a different position on the field, and he would see Bado shoot the ball, and it would clang off the top of the goal. As it does, it goes spiraling back, and everybody screams for second chance. And Isagi, well, he's right there. The ball falls perfectly into his lap, and with a direct shot that is just missed by a stumbling and also a quick-footed Saitoshi, who is trying to recover for his team, would be missed, and the direct shot would spiral right in past the goalkeeper, scoring his goal. Yoichi Isagi would be on the top of the world. And soon, the Blue Lock 11 would watch as the U20 team would crumble to dust. But the thing is, even Rin feels like this isn't a win for him. It's truly a win for Isagi. Saitoshi would walk up to Isagi and say that he's different, he's something else, and that he knows that his younger brother wouldn't be as good as he is now without the help of him. Isagi would shrug his shoulders and say that all that he cared about was erasing the golden boy. He didn't care about his brother's progression, didn't care even if Blue Lock survived. Not necessarily. As long as he got to erase the golden boy from existence. In which Sai says that, well, he did something like that. He basically shrugs his shoulders and walks away with his hands in his pockets, and Isagi would be dragged over for an interview. Dragged over as everyone cheers him on, and the interviewers ask him a question. What's his goal? What does he want? And he looks at the camera, dead serious, not even smiling, and he tells them that his goal is to erase the greatest strikers out of existence. In which everybody is shocked to hear this. What does that even mean? What does he mean? And he says that the greatest players, strikers, midfielders, anything you could think of, his goal is to erase them and make them look like jokes. He started with Saitoshi, and then they even stopped the devil. Who's next? He's not so sure. But he knows when they come and they think that they can beat Blue Lock, and they think that they can stop and they can score and they can do whatever they want on this field, he just wants them all to know that eventually he will erase them. And eventually they will fall victim to his way of playing football. Everybody cheers hearing this, and this is where we'll leave off. This is the end of What If Isagi Had Telekinesis Powers.